everybody, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you're doing well. If you're new, a huge welcome to you. If you've been here before, thank you so much for coming back. As you can see, I'm outside today enjoying the beautiful weather. I couldn't resist it. And I'm actually under a nice pergola that we have in our backyard. We have a beautiful wisteria growing on top of it, and it did have some gorgeous blooms this year, so I'm very happy about that. In previous years we haven't had many blooms. This plant is at least 25 years old and it hasn't bloomed through the years, unfortunately, but it did bloom a little bit this year. So anyway guys, I'm out here enjoying the gorgeous weather. I wish I could do my jewelry out here, but unfortunately I can't. There are too many bugs and too many birds, and it would just be too inconvenient. I'd have to bring out my table, my tools and everything. But anyway, today I have a very easy tutorial for you. We're going to make that gorgeous necklace that you saw in the intro with a butterfly pendant, and we're going to be using the beads that came in the GGC Treasure bag, the spring edition. And if you're not familiar with that bag, I'll leave a link down below along with a little bit of information about it. And I do encourage you to go to the website because the GGC Treasure online store has all kinds of other items, including the butterfly pendant that I'm going to be using today. So if you missed out on buying the bag, you can still make this project. You can just go to the website and buy yourself a pendant. They're not that expensive. And I know Gina has a whole bunch of them. She just listed a whole bunch. So please go check it out so you don't miss out. And I don't know if you can hear the birds, but we have a whole bunch of bird feeders. We have at least 6 of them, I think. And then we have a whole bunch of hummingbird feeders as well. I haven't seen any hummingbirds yet, unfortunately. Hopefully they're on their way. Last year we had a whole bunch and I did a lot of filming. I don't know if you guys watched my hummingbird video. I'll link it down below if you want to go check it out. But anyway, before we get started, I'd like to remind you to please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. And don't forget that I leave timestamps down below in case you want to skip forward to any portion of the video. I'll also leave a list of all the materials and the tools that I'm going to be using today. And also, if you follow my channel, you'll know that I always model my pieces, and I'll be doing that at the end of the tutorial, so please stick around for that. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. And here we have the GGC Treasure bag, the spring edition. This bag was released several weeks ago. The name of the collection is Spring Palette. Obviously, I'm not going to do an unbagging today. I've already done an unbagging video, and I'll leave the link down below in the description section of this video. And since there are so many items in this bag, I'm just going to go ahead and pull out the items that we're going to be using, and I'll do that off camera. So I'll see you in a few moments. Here are the items from the bag. We have a strand of 4x3mm faceted rondelle beads in the color pink. We have this beautiful mix of polyhedron crystals in a bunch of colors, and we're going to be using pretty much all of the colors except for the blue ones, and these measure 10mm in size. We also have this gorgeous butterfly pendant, and it's actually a cubic zirconia, and it's in a peachy color, as you can see. It's not the exact same peach as these beads here, but it's pretty close. I'm going to be using some Miyuki size 11-0 round seed beads, and as you can see I have 2 colors. I have yellow gold and I have champagne, and I'm going to mix them up. And the reason I'm going to mix them up is because I felt the yellow gold was too yellow, and I didn't want to use just champagne because it would be too pale. So I'll be mixing them up in equal parts. And here I have a few small melon beads. They're in the gold color, as you can see, and they're 4mm in size. I'm probably only going to use about 4 of them. And if you don't have these, you can use size 6-0 seed beads if you have them, or any other type of gold colored 4mm size bead. We're going to be using some beading wire, and this is 49 strand beading wire. It's 0.018 of an inch thick, or 0.46mm, and it's in a gold color, as you can see. And I will be using some crimp beads and some clamshell covers and a few other findings, but I'll pull them out later on when we get ready to use them. So now that we've gone over all the materials, let's go ahead and get started. Here are my beads. As you can see, I've pulled out 2 of each of these colors. The bag came with 3 of each color, including the blue ones, but like I said before, we're not going to be using the blue ones. I have 4 of the melon beads. Now you might need more depending on how long you want your necklace. And here I have my seed bead mix of the 2 colors, the yellow gold and the champagne. I've also cut myself 2 pieces of beading wire. Each piece is 20 inches long, but obviously if you want your necklace to be longer, you'll have to cut yourself a longer piece. Another thing to take into consideration is your crimping method. If you're going to use your traditional fold-over crimping method, you'll need a couple of inches extra at each end. I'm not going to do the fold-over method today. I'm simply going to squash the bead and hide it inside a clamshell cover. And I know some of you are a little concerned about the security of it or the durability of it, but you really shouldn't be, and I'll explain why later on. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to be connecting these 2 pieces of beading wire with some crimp tubes, and these are bead-along crimp tubes. They're size 2, as you can see, and they're in a gold color. And that's another thing, guys, if you use good quality crimp tubes or crimp beads, you shouldn't have any problems whether you use the fold-over method or whether you squash your crimp tubes. And here's one of them. So now we're going to thread on our beads, and we're going to be threading on a series of seed beads and crystals. And I just realized I didn't bring out the faceted rondelle beads, so let me go ahead and get them. Here they are. Like I was saying, we're going to thread on a series of beads, and I actually spent some time trying to figure out the bead pattern. So let me show you what I came up with. As you can see, I use my magic rods to figure out the bead patterns, and if you're not familiar with these magic rods, I'll leave some information down below and a link to my Etsy store, but I don't want to go into describing what they're all about. I'll leave that for another day. I just want to get started. But basically, both sections are the same length, but the top one only has 2 rondelles and the bottom one has 3. So the bead pattern for the top one is 6 seed beads, 1 rondelle, another 6 seed beads, another rondelle, and another 6 seed beads. And on the bottom one, I have 3 seed beads at the end, a rondelle, then 5 seed beads, another rondelle, another 5 seed beads, another rondelle, and another 3 seed beads at the other end. And each one of these measures 1.25 inches. You can play around with your bead pattern and create whatever configuration you feel is attractive. Perhaps you want to add more rondelles than I did. It's completely up to you. But that's basically how I'm going to load my seed beads and rondelles. So let me show you how to do this. I'm going to load a rondelle onto both pieces of beading wire like this. So both pieces are going through the same hole, and bring it down all the way down to where the crimp tube is. And now I'm going to separate one of the strands, and I'm going to load my bead pattern. So I'm loading 3 seed beads, another rondelle, 5 seed beads, another rondelle, another 5 seed beads, another rondelle, and another 3 seed beads, and bring it all the way down, just like that. And now I'm going to place a small clip at the end so I don't lose the beads. You can use a bead stopper if you want to. And I'm going to go to this strand now. I'm going to start with 6 seed beads. A rondelle, another 6 seed beads, another rondelle, another 6 seed beads, and now I'm going to bring everything down. So this is what we have so far. And now I'm going to bring my strands together again and load one of these crystals. And I'm feeding both strands through the hole. Bring it down. And this is what we have so far. Make sure you take away all the slack. So now I'm going to repeat the same sequence, but instead of having 3 rondelles on this strand, I'm going to have 2, and I'm going to have the sequence with the 3 on this strand. I hope that makes sense. Honestly, it really doesn't matter because these strands are going to twist around when you wear them, but as long as each section between the crystals has the 5 rondelles, that's really all that matters. So that's what I'm going to do next, but let me show you something different. This time I'm going to use my magic rod, and the reason I like to use it for these kinds of projects is because I have a very difficult time picking up beads with the beading wire, especially seed beads. For me, it's a lot quicker to pick them up with these steel rods and then offloading them onto the beading wire in multiples. Let me show you how I do this. Let me go ahead and start with 3 seed beads, a rondelle, and then 5 seed beads, another rondelle, another 5 seed beads, another rondelle, and then 3 seed beads. So here's my bead pattern, and now let me show you how I offload from the rod. I simply grab a few like this and load them directly onto my beading wire all at once, just like that. Let me show you again. This time I'm grabbing 5. I just find it so much easier doing it like this. I know it's an extra step, but for me it's a lot quicker. Let me attach my clip. And now I'm going to load the next sequence, which is 6 seed beads, one rondelle, 6 seed beads, another rondelle, and another 6 seed beads. So there's my other bead pattern. And now I'm going to offload from the rod. Just like that. So now I'm going to remove the clip, bring my strands together, move everything down, load the next crystal, slide it down, and that's what we have so far. I think it looks very pretty. And it's basically how I'm going to load the rest of these beads. I'm going to finish this side and then I'll come back and show you how to load the pendant. Okay, I'm back. As you can see, I've loaded all the beads and I finished with 2 melon beads at this end. So now before I load the pendant, I'm going to finish off this end. I'm going to crimp it off and attach a clamshell cover. Here's my crimp tube and here's my clamshell cover. As you can see, it has 2 loops. And I like using these because they're a little bit more secure than the ones that have a single loop. Now before we start, we're going to open up the clamshell cover to make it easier to reach in and crimp the crimp tube. We're going to load the clamshell cover first. So I'm going in from the bottom with both strands. Just like that. And now I'm going to load the crimp tube. Let me just make sure both strands go in there, like this. Bring it down. Using some chain nose pliers, I'm going to grab that crimp tube, grab the strands, pull on them, and then squash the crimp tube. You want to make sure you squash it really well. And before you cut off the excess, you should always test it. And it's on really well. It's not going anywhere. So let me cut off the excess beading wire. And now I'm going to close my clamshell cover. Let me finish closing it with some pliers. And that's all there is to it. If you use the ones with single loops, guys, there's the risk that the loop might slide out of a jump ring. And that's one of the reasons I like to use the ones with 2 loops. But let's do a little test. I have a crimp tube and a clamshell cover on a piece of wire. And I'm going to grab the loop with some chain nose pliers. And I'm going to pull as hard as I possibly can. As you can see, my fingers are turning red and this crimp tube is not going anywhere. So for those of you who are concerned, I mean, look at my fingers. For those of you who are concerned, if you crimp your crimp tube properly, it will never fail. Like I said, the only thing that might happen is that these loops might slide out of a jump ring if the jump ring isn't closed properly. But as long as you use cleanly cut jump rings and you close them really well, that shouldn't happen. Gosh, look at my fingers. I can't believe it. But anyway, I wanted to show you that because I know a few of you are concerned about the security of clamshell covers. So now before I finish this side, I'm going to load the pendant, and that's very simple. We're simply going to thread both strands through the bail and bring it down. And now I'm going to slide that crimp tube inside the bail. Just like that. Let me slide on a rondelle. And once again, I'm going to go in with both strands. Like that. Bring it down. You want the rondelle up against the bail like this. Let me turn it around. So this is what it looks like from the front. I think it looks really pretty. And those 2 rondelles fit really nicely there. So now I'm going to load the rest of these beads the exact same way that I did on this side. And I'm going to do it off camera and I'll be right back. Well, I'm back, and as you can see, I finished loading all the beads and I crimped off the ends and attached the clamshell covers. And I think this necklace looks super cute. I love all the colors. So now the only thing left to do is to attach the clasp. Here's my clasp, and here are 2 jump rings. And these are actually oval shaped jump rings. I wanted to show you these jump rings because they're actually a little bit more secure than round ones. Let me show you. I'm not sure if you can see that the cut is on the long side of the jump ring, which means there's less of a chance for the clamshell cover to slide through. And you can find these pretty much anywhere. I know Fire Mountain Gemma has them. Now today I'm going to attach an extender chain as well. And I would use the chain that came in the bag, but the links are a little bit too small. So I have a piece of chain here that has links that are a little bit bigger. I also have a ball head pin with 3 crystal rondelles threaded on, as you can see. I'm going to create a wrap loop, and I'm using my round nose pliers. I'm going to grab the pin right at the top of the bead like this, kink it, switch to this part of the pin, take the tail, wrap it around the nose of my pliers, flip my pliers around, continue to wrap that tail to the back, like that, and now I'm going to attach it to the chain. I'm simply going to slide the link into the loop that I just created. Like that. Using some skinny pliers, I'm going to grab the loop. I like to use these pliers because they have a very skinny tip and they grab really well. And now using another set of pliers, I'm going to grab the tail and I'm going to do a couple of wraps. Using flush cutters, I'm going to cut off the excess pin. And now we need to tuck in that little tail. So I'm going to use my pliers again and tuck it in. So there's my extended chain. Let me grab one of these jump rings. I'm going to open it up, attach the chain, just like that. I'm going to go ahead and slide the loop of the clamshell cover onto the jump ring like this and close it up. So this is what we have. Let me do this side now. And these oval jump rings open the same way as round ones. There's really no difference. Let me attach the lobster claw clasp. And now I'm going to attach it to this side. And close it up. The nice thing about extended chains is that it makes the necklace adjustable. So there's my pretty spring necklace. I really love the sparkle of those crystals. And by the way guys, you can add as many melon beads at the top. One of the reasons I added them is to add some more length, and I didn't want to add a whole segment of crystals and seed beads. Plus it creates a nice transition and it finishes the necklace off. One thing worth noting is that the magic rods come with little stoppers at the ends, as you can see, and that helps to bring the beads in close to get accurate measurements. And that's how I was able to figure out the sequence of beads. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. As always, I'd like to put the necklace on and show you what it looks like. So let me do that and I'll see you in a few moments. Well, what do you think of this necklace? Isn't it pretty? I really love it. I love butterflies. But you know something? A fun fact about me, I don't like caterpillars. I'm kind of repulsed by them, and I don't know why, because I remember playing with them when I was a little kid in Australia. Something must have happened to me to be so turned off by them, but I am. Whenever I see one, I get the creeps. And here in Virginia, we don't really get butterflies until summertime. I did see one the other day, a little white one, but I think peak season is summertime. But anyway guys, I would really love it if you would leave some comments down below and let me know what you think of today's tutorial. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm looking forward to seeing you again. Have a great day and I'll see you next time. Bye.